Be the next president of the United States, Gary Johnson.
Man, wow. Everybody here is crazy for coming out in this weather. Oh man, thank you. You honor us. Conservative. I've got one piece of advice for everybody here today, and it's worth exactly what you're paying for it, which is nothing. But the one piece of advice is that whatever it is that you know, whatever it is that you do, apply it entrepreneurially. There will never be a greater reward in your life. Creating your own job, creating jobs for others. And when it comes to government, government can play a role in making that as easy as possible, and you have Bill Weld and my pledge that we will make that as easy as possible. Reduce barriers to entry, make it easy. It's that opportunity. Government gets in the way of Airbnb. I'm in Baltimore. I'm talking to a young woman who got her doctorate in science. She says, I have these horrible student debts, but I figured out a way to pay them back. Airbnb. Man, I have a pathway to paying them all back, but guess what? City of Baltimore stepped in and banned Airbnb. Well, that's government. No, it happens. Uber right now, Uber is being opposed by Hillary Clinton. I think the model of the future is Uber everything. Crony capitalism. Look, we're all against crony capitalism, but I think that a majority of Americans right now have associated crony capitalism and free trade as one and the same, when in fact they are absolute opposites. Crony capitalism is when the government gets involved, when the government picks winners and losers. Free market is when the government doesn't get involved. We can do that. Right. Reforming Social Security. Look, if we're going to put our heads in the sand over this, and Clinton and Trump both are saying that they're not going to address the entitlements. Well, if they don't address the entitlements, look, they're not going to be around for future generations, and we owe that to future generations. So with regard to Social Security, I mean, you've got to raise the retirement age. You have to reform Social Security so that it will be around. With regard to Social Security, you could also have a very fair means testing. How much? Donald Trump watched the Olympics really, really closely to determine how high the Mexican pole vaulters could go. Make it as easy as possible for somebody that wants to come into this country and work to be able to get a work visa. Yeah. And a work visa should entail a background check and a Social Security card that applicable taxes get paid. Right now we go to the doctor, we have no idea what it's going to cost. The person providing the services has no idea what it's going to cost. We get a bill and know that nobody is going to actually pay that bill. Well, if you brought a free market approach to healthcare, you would have Stitches R Us. You would have X-rays are us. You would have gallbladders are us. No telling what we would have, but I guarantee you it would be advertised pricing, it would be advertised outcomes, and it would be much, much less costly. Violent crime. As President of the United States, as Vice President, we're promising to deschedule marijuana as a Class 1 narcotic right off the bat. The legalization of marijuana will be a state's issue similar to alcohol. That's just the way that it will be and the way that it should be. States' rights. Yeah, and I was more outspoken than any governor in the country regarding school choice, that we should allow alternatives to public education. Yeah. Unleash 1 million educational entrepreneurs to deliver better products and better services when it comes to education. And there are some departments that stick out that should be abolished. And there are some areas in these departments perhaps that should be retained, but in an entire agency, the Department of Commerce comes to mind, Housing and Urban Development comes to mind, Homeland Security, come on, do we really need another agency of the federal government when it comes to law enforcement? I don't think so. We support the Second Amendment. But we've also got to be open to a discussion on how you keep guns out of the hands of the mentally ill. And we need to be open to a discussion on how you keep guns out of the hands of would-be terrorists. The FBI. Clinton and Barack Obama, they went in and they supported the opposition in Syria and Libya to support regime change. We armed the opposition in Syria and Libya to support that regime change. And guess what? The opposition got beaten and all of those arms ended up in ISIS people. We should be able to make choices in our own lives on everything. On everything, unless those choices put other people in harm's way. That's when government has a role. But with regard, you all rock! Thank you so much for being here. You have no idea. This is so cool. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You rock. You're wonderful.